People born between 1997 and 2012 are considered Generation Z. This approximately 69 million strong group have grown up in a world where pandemics have shuttered schools and businesses. Social media has dominated their lives, and touching grass has become something you need to advise others to do. We have seen in our profession the beginnings of their entry into the workforce, and they bring with them new challenges and opportunities. This is Lifeline. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Lifeline 911 with your host, Erica.
Hello.
I'm your co-host, Gary, and today we are going to be discussing Generation Z and the workforce of emergency telecommunications. So, I was doing some research on this generation, and as I said, they're 69 million strong. 98% of them own smartphones. 85% of them use the YouTubes. 79% of them use Instagram. 75% use the TikToks. And on average, they spend 8 or more hours a day online. So, a very interesting group of folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as a millennial, I'm happy to be able to complain about the younger generations now. People did that to me for my whole life, so it's nice to move on. I will say that.
And I'm just not in either of those groups, so there's that.
You're Gen Alpha, so that's what you need to know.
No. I think am I a boomer? Wait.
No, you're Gen X.
No, X. That's it. Okay.
Yep.
I'm like boomer. No, that's my parents. Okay.
Yeah, the rowdy kids. Yeah.
The rowdy kids. Yeah. So this group is they are an interesting bunch in that in our environment, because they spend so much time online and in the electronic world, they adapt really well to computer-aided dispatch and any of these any of the systems that we have. For the most part, they don't know a world where technology did not rule. So this is nothing for them. They just go, oh, this is what you want me to do. Matter of fact, show me once, maybe twice, and off I go, which is amazing.
Yeah. There are a lot of positive elements to that. They are very comfortable with technology, very comfortable with change for now. And then when they get older, that'll change. Believe me, kids,
Sure.
It will.
Yep.
You'll get old and set in your ways like I am.
Millennial. That's awesome.
But yeah, like they're very adept at that. They're, very comfortable with out of the box kind of thinking. They're not used to the rules and requirements of systems that have been in place for a long time. And they can come up with innovative ways to kind of change those.
Which is good, because in our profession, especially in public safety, emergency management, we tend to be this is the way it's always been. This is the way we've always done it. And we don't really do change well. And if we do allow the change, we want to dictate how much change and how often the change and to what degree the change. And don't take us too fast, because hold on. I need to learn this new thing that you're talking about. And matter of fact, if I had my way, we would not learn this new thing you're talking about, because the way that we've always done it works just fine. And that suits me right down to the ground. Thank you very much.
Yes. So they have been, I think, definitely agents for a lot of change, being early adapters of new technology and new ways of doing things, which has brought a lot of greatness to it. But that also comes with some drawbacks, more or less, as we see this group entering the workforce. Because I was, when I was doing the research on this, I was like, 97, they're only about to be 20. They're not going to come into the be that big into the workforce. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, they're about to, they're going to be getting up to 30 now. Okay.
Hmm.
Time
Yeah,
flies.
it absolutely does. And with especially a lot of them coming out of high school, and so many of them, especially in our profession, not many, more and more of them are familiar with what we do before they actually get here. And by that, because of the classes that are available now, you know that there's 911 prep
That would be
in
a
high
very
schools.
interesting episode, I think.
Yeah, there's 911 prep. What? There's what they call UIL, or what is it? Like statewide competitions for 911.
Hmm.
And these young people are learning this in high school, so that when they apply, they come in with an understanding, if nothing else, of what it is that we really do. And in some cases, depending on how far they went and how immersed they were in their classroom experience, they know some things.
Yeah, yeah.
But this is also most likely the very first job. And so, with that, for us as supervisors, mm,
Yeah, and I kind of would like to touch on the knowing of things a little bit because like when you and I were growing up, we had in terms of us our knowledge about 911, we had shows like Dragnet or Adam 12 where
mhm,
all dispatch was a sort of a voice that
chips.
yeah that told the stars of the show where to go. I had a bit of advantage on that since my father worked in emergency communications, so
Mhm.
I had a little bit of the background growing up as well with that. But most of the people in the older generations, the olds, were not very familiar with that. No
Yeah.
cap. And so nowadays you've got shows like 911, 911 Lone Star. You've had movies like The Call. It's a
Mhm.
lot more in the cultural zeitgeist um,
Yeah.
and awareness than it was for people our age.
Well, and then you also have the internet.
Yeah.
Just about anything you want to know, you can find out about this profession. Now, I mean, you won't get the culture, you won't get, there are certain aspects of it that you will only get once you are in the profession. But if I wanted to Google, what's it like to be a 911 dispatcher, they can give me a breakdown on what that is. What characteristics do I need? What skills or talents do I need to be able to bring to the table? And it'll break it down for you, especially if you mess around and deep dive into AI. Oh my God.
Yeah. Like Chat GPT and Grok, they'll just spit out
Yeah.
the answer. And
Yeah.
even like this show is a podcast. Podcasts have only been
Hmm.
around for 20 years or so. And
Yeah.
that is one way for a very niche audience to kind of get additional details on something they might be interested in.
Yeah. And they can find out, more. So when they're listening to, say, this episode or others that are in this podcast, they are starting to get a picture of what it is like to come into this profession. They won't be as, you know, prone to culture shock when they enter into the center, even as big, beautiful as ours is. And I'm sure that there are others that are even bigger. One of the things that we worried about the most was the culture shock.
Oh,
Not so
yeah.
much that, not so much anymore, because there's so much information available to them. So when they come in, they already know a few things.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think they're very comfortable sitting at a computer console for their whole shift and virtually doing everything. Now, I
Yeah.
think that for me, that adds a bit of an element of concern a lot of times because well, it, like dispatching a call or taking a call, it can seem a little bit like a video game in some ways because you've got on the computer aided dispatch, the CAD screen, you've got little units and calls pop up and you send them to those calls. And if you forget that there's part of humanity there, like there's somebody actually that might be getting hurt, and that cop that you're
Yeah.
sending might be a person with a family, and they might get killed because you sent them to that call. Like that is the level of detachment that I would kind of worry about if
Yeah.
people were just like, oh, this is just a video game. I don't care about any of the stuff that's going on. I just got to make sure all these units get to where they need to be.
And you're not wrong, because for a long time I had a bias against, the younger generation when it comes to gaming, and gaming being a desirable skill set, if you will. Uh, I've since grown out of that and learned that I'm looking at it through the other end of the spectrum, that it is so mechanical for them that they won't know that it is a human being. But it's still a good skill set to have. They are accustomed to being able to switch tasks often. And especially if you're in some of these games that, like, even my husband loves, you got multiple things to consider at one time, and you're switching from each task quickly over and over and over again. That's something I don't have to worry about in this younger generation. They're, in my opinion, I feel like they're somewhat coming out of the crib with it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But that's where you and I come in, is to teach them that while this is very cool and being able to do the mechanics of it, remind you of this video game, I need you to remember that there is a human being attached to this little icon.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of what you were saying in regards to this being their first job. A lot of times they don't have that work history that has kind of taught them a lot of things that we would consider really basic to employment. Showing up
Yeah.
to work on time, being in a hierarchy. We had an episode on hierarchy a little bit ago.
Mhm.
These are fundamental elements not only of emergency telecommunications, but of any job, really. And trying to make them understand the importance of that can be a real challenge when they may have been used to either not having any job at all, or having a job that, or school even, that may have started remotely, so you didn't have to put on pants to go to class,
Yeah. Or understanding that while, yes, you are covered technically when you put on clothes, I need a little more than that. When you come into a professional environment, you don't have to be dressed to the nines, but I need you to not be a distraction or even an offense to your colleagues as we are attempting to get a job done here. And I find that is one of the biggest challenges that I'm experiencing as a supervisor over the younger generation that has entered into even our center, relaying to them and conveying to them, yes, you are covered. However, I really need undergarments. I need that to be a thing for you.
Yeah, and it's just trying to teach people a basic level of professionalism.
Thank you. That's
yeah,
what I was. Yes.
yeah, because I mean, you see people that go out grocery shopping, and like, I'm not from the 50s or 60s where you put on a dress or a suit to go out and buy your groceries, but I am from the age where you change out of your pajamas to go do it. Anytime you go into public, it's just a much more casual feeling that you kind of get. And it's like kind of hammering in that professionalism, that what is acceptable and what's not. The frustrating thing for me a lot of times is how much resistance it meets with, because you're telling them, hey, this is not appropriate. And they're like, I don't care. Almost, it's not quite I don't care, but it's just like, I don't understand.
Very close to it. It's very close to, well, I don't understand what the problem is, because I am, and again, this is not about bashing. This is just, these are challenges that we run into with a younger generation. I would imagine when I entered my first job, my bosses at McDonald's had to teach me how to be an employee. And that is what we're having to do. And we're also having to teach first responder mentality, respect for the role. We're having to teach public service. And they don't, a lot of times, because this is new, they don't understand what that is. I don't understand. This is a job. I come in, I do the job, and and you want me to do what now?
Mhm.
All these
Yeah.
extra things. And why aren't we besties?
We're coworkers, not best. It's not like The Office. I think about the people we've hired that have started the career older, and
Mm-hmm.
they have a lot of challenges to overcome. The the switch tasking that
Uh-huh.
Gen Z is very good at is a challenge
Yeah.
for them. Sometimes all the technology can be a challenge for them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the emotional aspects, because they really understand this person that's crying on the phone to me, their life has just been destroyed, and that can really
Yes.
really get to them, and in a way that it doesn't always for Gen Z. So, but they also have a lot of things that are already like set in place that are like, I'm going to show up to work on time. I'm going to make sure all my paperwork is done correctly.
Right.
A lot of like just basic expectations that any employer would have of a person.
And that's because they have life experience that they're bringing with them. So that's why I said earlier, this is not a bashing of the young people. This is just I used to be that young person, and so did you. You started your work career somewhere, and they had to teach you some things about being an employee. And it is a challenge in an environment like this one because we're trying to get something done, and this work is important. Not to say that any other job isn't, but many, many jobs most of us have had in our past are not life and death, and this really can be that.
Yeah, and so kind of trying to drill that in, instill
Uh-huh.
that in people, I think has always been challenging for the previous generation into the next generation.
Sure.
But it's an important part of, yeah, it's just as important as learning how to take a 911 call or dispatch it, really, when you get down to it, that attitude that you bring to the table,
Yeah.
the teamwork and camaraderie. And I think
Okay.
that's kind of another thing Generation Z that I've been noticing has some issue with is working as a team, because they're so used to being so independent and so solo. Because when I was a kid, we'd bring the Nintendos out and everybody would get together in the same room and play Smash Brothers or whatnot. But
Yeah.
nowadays, everybody is in their own house or their own room, and you can either play online or play solo games, or just if you're going to watch a movie, you can just watch it together online. You don't have to be with
You
another
don't even
human
have to
being.
be in the same room, and there's no that collective problem solving, I find, is not as you don't see it as much in the younger generation that's entering our workforce now. It is like for dispatching and even 911 call taking, but less call taking, I think. But for dispatch, in our center, you have your channel, your sector, your district, your group of individuals, basically your pod. And that is your work environment, and yours doesn't cross over into anyone else's. Typically, you can literally go an 8-hour day without really interacting too much with your colleagues unless you pass by them. And
Yeah.
I remember when I first started this profession, our room was more open. And if, let's say, Charlie sector was going through something, I'm in Baker sector, I hear it. I don't just go, huh, sucks to be you. No, I reach over and I grab what then was the MapSco, and I would open it up to the page where they were and the foot pursuit that's going on, and I would begin to map out help with the perimeter, and I wouldn't have to be asked, can you take these calls? Oh no, I'm already viewing, and I'm like, send that to me. Send those units over here. I will take that off of your plate. I'm actively involved in what's happening, and we're managing this emergency together. And it is very difficult to teach that, and you don't see it nearly as much in the environment that we're in now, even though it hasn't changed that much as far as like where they are sitting and that kind of thing. I don't know. Is that whose responsibility is it to teach them that? I think it's ours, isn't it?
I mean, I think not to get too broad on the topic, but like if because we all need to know how to work together as first responders, as dispatchers, call takers, as human beings in general. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes you've got to help your neighbor out when they need some help, be it your neighboring sector or your neighbor next door to you in real life.
Yeah,
And if through growing up they haven't developed the skills to kind of interact like that, then yeah, it is incumbent upon their supervisors to try and teach them that in a manner that is positive,
sure.
not dismissive of them. The
Absolutely.
yeah, the and granted, like we are painting with broad strokes here, of course. So just
Yeah.
as a whole, like there are plenty of Gen Z out there that are not like that. They're everybody's their own person, but we're trying to
Of
just give some
course.
broad strokes here on how to do this. So how, I guess, can a supervisor help a Gen Z to become the the best and most capable person that they can be in regards to their work environment?
In this environment, what I try to do, and maybe you have some tips, or maybe somebody else can drop a comment and tell me if this is way off. But the first thing I try to do is make sure that they know that they have value. And by value, I don't mean, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. I don't want to upset you in any way. I just want to make, here's a trophy. No, you are a professional in this environment because you are here. That's number one. And because you are here, that means you had to jump through some hurdles and do some things to get in this house. And so, since you are here, I'm going to first let you know that your experience, such as it is, has value, and you are held to the standard of a professional. I'm going to deviate for a second because I'm remembering an article that I read. I don't know if it was like entertainment or something like that, where there was an adult actor, female, that was being interviewed, and they were talking to her about her child star coworker. And the interviewer asked, "Do you mommy them? Do you see them as like you're a child that you get to nurture?" And it was amazing what she said. She said, "Absolutely not. That is a professional. That is an actor just like me, and I treat him like he is an actor just like me. Now, I will give him guidance if I see that he needs it, but I don't diminish what he brings to the table because of his age."
That's
He
well said.
auditioned. Yeah, he auditioned and he was picked for the role. And so he is my actor colleague. And so I took from that, and I try to see this younger generation that are in our environment. Number one, you applied, you interviewed, you tested, you trained, and you're released and you're here. That in and of itself brings value to your being here. So I'm not going to diminish you. I'm going to treat you like the professional that I hope you will act like. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to attempt to teach you by treating you the way I want you to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And it's not like having the mentality of like, oh, I'm a parent of this younger generation is in the workplace not a good mentality. But I think if you switch that up and say, I'm going to mentor this younger
Uh-huh.
generation to help guide them and instruct them on how to be successful, that's something that I think resonates with people of all ages because we all
Agreed.
needed mentorship and help and guidance
And
when we
still,
started. Yeah, I mean, like I try and get it as much as I can, and a lot of times
yeah,
I'll learn from the younger generation. Like they'll have like a power line command or a thought
yeah,
process, and I'm like, you know what, that actually will work a lot better for everybody. And trying to keep that conversation going, so everybody there's a rising tide for all the boats.
yeah, I agree. And I think if there's a piece of advice that I would give to the younger generation that is in, especially in our environment, the hierarchy that you see in place is there for a reason, and it is very dominant across public safety for a reason. Because if everybody is equal, then everybody's decisions or the authority to make decisions becomes equal. And then what you end up with is chaos because everyone wants to make their decision, and in their mind, their decision is the right one. So, one of the challenges I see in this younger generation coming into our workforce environment specifically is that they really struggle, not so much with authority, really, but with understanding that the hierarchy is there for a reason. And I need you to respect that hierarchy. They tend to jump jump the chain of command quite often because they
Mhm.
just don't understand that it's there for a reason.
Mhm. A lot of times, the link that they jumped could have answered their question or given them the answer they needed without having to kind of go up there. And especially in situations where there's life and death circumstances, you don't always have time to get buy-in from everyone. And a decision sometimes just has
Mhm.
to be made. This is what we're doing, and move on with that. And
Right now.
that does not in any way diminish anybody on that team.
Yep.
Everyone has a different role to fill. We were kind of talking about it before the show. It's not that everybody's not equal, because everybody's a human being and we're all
Sure.
equal in that sense. But the roles we have in our departments and the various positions we have require different amounts of decision making. And when a decision comes down, being okay with that. Because, I mean, there are plenty of times that I have a decision that I'm informed of that I don't agree with, but that doesn't
Sure.
mean that I'm like, this is a terrible decision, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'll give my opinion behind closed doors, but like when it comes to actually working on the operations floor, we're all one voice. And like, that's how, that's the only way you can run a a system like this, because if everybody was like, we're going to have to send this to committee, and maybe it's just because Gen Z doesn't have enough experience with government, but when things go to committees, nothing ever happens.
Agreed. 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 Yeah. You're 1000% correct in that. Yes.
So going forward, how can we, I guess, kind of wrap up the thought here, how can we use the best of Gen Z, the good things about it, how can we blend that into our profession to have a positive outcome going forward?
I I have to go back to the original thing that I learned from that interview that I saw. It's a bedrock of how I try to teach and treat those people in that age group that have come into the profession for me. One, you belong here. I'm not your mother. Two, I'm not your bestie. I am your leader. I am the person who has the knowledge and the experience to show you the way. But every every thought that you have, every idea that you have, as long as it's coming from the right place, has value, even if we can't use it. I think that's where we make our biggest mistake as those who've been in the profession the longest and have a little age on us, a little long in the tooth, if you will. We dismiss these young people as if they're just here to fill a seat, do what I tell you, sit down, shut up, do what I tell you. That is the worst attitude you can possibly have because they bring, one, they're here. They bring value. They bring a desire to do a good job. And you start with that. Even if they don't understand all the mechanisms and all the things, a job well done, everybody loves to hear that. Don't care what you tell me. You're lying. If you say you don't want to hear a job well done, who doesn't want to hear that? One of the biggest things that you hear them complain about is just because I'm young doesn't mean I'm stupid. They could not be more right. Start with valuing them, hearing them. And if you do have to correct the way you would want to be corrected. Kind of golden rule. When
Mm-hmm.
you do that, you find that you start building trust and they're more able to hear you when you do have to correct. And you create that psychologically safe environment for them to agree and or disagree.
Mm-hmm. From the Gen Z side, I would say don't be so resistant to mentorship, correction.
Mhm.
I remember being young and being like, "Oh man, these olds are so stupid. Why don't they do,
Mhm.
A, B, and C?"
Mhm.
But there is something called wisdom, and wisdom is bought at a very high price. You have to go
Yes,
through,
it is.
you have to get a lot of experience to get wisdom. Not everybody gets wisdom, I'll say that, but there are a lot of important kernels of truth that
Yeah.
you get from experience that
Yeah.
you can't get from reading a book or from talking to Grok. Um,
Yeah.
it's just something you have to get through living life, and
It is literally. Yep.
there's no royal road to that. So
Yep.
be willing to be malleable, I suppose.
No. Yeah. Remain teachable.
Yeah.
Remain teachable, especially in this environment, because the years of experience that I have took me 20 plus years to get, which means you'll never catch me. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that goes for people that have got 30 years of experience. I'm never going to catch them. I will catch up. I will eventually get there, but I will never surpass, because as they're continue to learn, I'm continuing to learn. They're gaining more and getting more. So remain teachable. That is your best friend in an environment like this, because speed doesn't always get it. Experience can overcome speed.
Hmm. What is it that you say when asked how long did it take you to become that good of a dispatcher? It took me as long as it takes.
It takes as long as it, yep. And
Takes
it
as
is, I
long as
need
it
to get
takes.
faster. I need to get faster. That's one of the things. I need to get faster. I'm like, how are you going to do that? And they go, what do you mean? Well, you said you need to get faster. How are you going to do it? How long does that take? They go, I don't know. And I go, I can help. You ready? Yes. As long as it takes. You cannot manufacture speed. You can't.
Yeah. Well,
Don't get me started. Now, you get the CTO is raising up in me. Let me sit down. But it's true. Wisdom comes at a very high price. It's called experience. It's called, getting kicked in the noggin from time to time. It's getting your backside handed to you. Any of the things we like to say in this profession. That's how you get it.
it takes time, but we're glad that you all have taken the time from your day to spend with us. We very much appreciate it. I know that this is a topic that a lot of people tend to discuss when new generations enter the workforce. So we hope that you found it maybe insightful, whether you're on the young side of the fence or you're one of the old fogies like we are. Hopefully
Yes.
it was a little bit eye-opening.
Yeah.
If you have any experience with that, please feel free to shoot us an email at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com or leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed the video, which we hope you did, I hope you will like and subscribe for our next video. And from all of us at Lifeline 911, I'm Gary,
I'm Erica.
and we will see you next week.
Thank you for watching our production of Lifeline 911. If you have any questions about today's topic or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, please reach out to us at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com. This has been a production of Lifeline 911 Podcast, copyright 2025. From all of us at Lifeline, stay safe out there. And until next time, this is Lifeline 911 signing off.